the tech industry, which includes the video game development property or whatever you want to call it, has a serious problem that goes by the name bro culture. If you don't know what bro culture is, here's an easy definition. Dudes being dudes. That sums up what bro culture is in a nutshell. All right, here we go. If you've been paying attention over the past year, we've been seeing more and more signs that the problem not only has always been there since the beginning, the bro culture problem, but it doesn't seem to be getting any better. Here are a couple of the greatest hits to warm up this segment of Crossroads, which I've titled Bureaus of Bad Behavior. We're talking about the Activision lawsuit, Ubisoft harassment suit, and much more tonight. So, let's do this, guys. In 2018, Riot Games would see themselves come under scrutiny after accusations of a sexist work environment were brought up, including details about a lack of female employees within the company. There was also reports of rampant sexism happening in everyday conversation, and there were even open jokes about actual sexual harassment. If you're going to do it big, right?
Go ahead.
Riot Games would subsequently issue an open letter apology titled Our First Steps Forward. The actual statements from the apology included a message from the upper management to staff, which included current and past staff members, along with contractors and former contractors. So yeah, it didn't matter if you were an actual employee of the company. You could have been somebody that was on loan. It was all fair game to them. In the letter, though, it was stated that from Riot, we are sorry that Riot hasn't always been or wasn't the place that we promised you, and we're sorry it took so long for us to hear of you. In layman's terms, basically, Riot's apology letter can be translated as to, we are sorry we ignored you and did nothing to address all of your complaints.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
You hit the chicks already, right?
That's why I'm glad you ladies are on the show tonight. I'm so glad for this.
That was sarcasm before, so I just want to throw that out there. That's not a green light.
All right, but get this. In 2020, here's a really good one. In 2020, claims of a problematic work culture rife with sexual misconduct would land the popular gaming company Ubisoft in some serious hot water. This was a talking topic, I'll say that for sure. After facing a flood of accusations of sexual misconduct made against employees, Ubisoft issued a statement saying that it would investigate all claims. Fast forward to now, and we learned that in an anonymous survey, nearly 14,000 employees, which was conducted by a third-party research firm, out of all that, 1 in 4 respondents said that they either witnessed or experienced workplace misconduct themselves in the past 2 years, and 1 in 5 of everyone asked said that they did not feel fully respected or safe in the work environment. The results also noted that women and non-binary employees witnessed or were more likely to experience or witness harassment than men.
That's a fucked up statistic.
Yeah, tell me about it. As a result, a host of Ubisoft executives and creative leaders have either been fired or stepped down from their current roles. I'm going to name some names here because most notably, these people included Tommy Francois, Maxime Belland, Ashraf Ismail, Giannis Molotond, and Ubisoft veteran Michel Ansel. Now, that name actually should send ripples through the entire gaming community because Ansel was one of the people who was responsible for the development of Beyond Good and Evil 2. And you know what? Guess what? That might explain why this game is kind of falling off the face of the earth. Because Ansel departed in the midst of an ongoing investigation into his toxic management while supervising Beyond Good and Evil 2. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillermo. I really should put pronunciation in the notes. I'm sorry. I as a person who has a kind of interesting and weird name. I don't like bastardizing names because I don't like my name getting bastardized. So I'm sorry to this man for messing his name up. I'm sorry. But anyway, the Ubisoft CEO issued a letter and even spoke to the gaming community in the Ubisoft Forward event. Remember that one? The live? where he talked to everybody? All right. He did all this to explain how the company hopes to begin to deal with these issues and help create a safer and better work environment at Ubisoft. Ubisoft, as of right now, is still dealing with legal proceedings from the harassment claims. They are still in the muck of it. And it doesn't look to be getting any better soon because, in all honesty, since that report, it has still come out from various insiders working at Ubisoft that the environment of harassment, discrimination, misconduct, and all that stuff, it hasn't gotten better. It's, if anything, it's still going at the same pace, and maybe it's gotten worse. And you know what? I'll just take a quick sidebar here real quickly. Hey, I'm just reporting the news. I didn't make it. So be careful if you come into my mentions tonight. All right. But ultimately, this is all coming to a head because here's why we are here tonight. And this is why I'm glad you, Stephanie, and you, Dan, are here because now all those examples were just tips of the iceberg. The company behind games like Diablo, Warcraft, and Call of Duty is also under fire, as Activision Blizzard is now currently staring down their own sexual misconduct lawsuit. All right, this is one that we're going to have to unpack, so get ready. All right, a list of alleged offenses in the lawsuit are quite damning that have been placed against Activision Blizzard. We're going to start with a few of the sightings here. Female employees have been subjected to a workplace culture that was similar to a frat house where male employees were often drunk or skipping work just to play games. Male workers would allegedly engage in what's called cube crawls, where they would get to work hungover and visit other female coworkers in their work areas to make lewd remarks. These errant employees have also reportedly harassed the women in the form of sexual comments on their bodies, issued rape jokes, and unwanted physical contact and groping. Okay. I'm ex-military. I was in the Navy, and even to me, that's disgusting.
It is.
And I worked in a place that was a culture. All right, let me get back to this. Even supervisors and executives have allegedly engaged in similar behavior. The employees have been reported. To the HR department, but they were either met with inaction or an erring executive was only given a verbal reprimand by other executives. In the suit, there's some different types of discriminatory practices in which the company will have to answer to. Here are a couple of the key points here from this lawsuit right now. Number one, women were given unequal pay, assigned to lower positions, and denied promotions or a higher rank. How fucked up is that?
In a way, I'm not even surprised because it's such a male-dominated field. They would pull something like this. So
I'm glad you mentioned that actually, because we're gonna talk about that in a little bit.
But the gender gap in pay isn't something that's predominantly in the gaming field or banking field or anything like that. I because of for like completely ridiculous reasons, the pay gap exists, right? Like sometimes women won't get hired because they're afraid that they'll get pregnant or need time off or things like that. Yeah. And that steers, them away from promotion. So it's already an unfair disadvantage when it comes to that, because that happens in every single field, and it's an issue that should be taken upon like anywhere else.
Yeah, every single sector of the jobs field. Yeah, that is true. But what really bugs me about it though is assigning them to lower or sub positions. That doesn't sit well with me, because at the end of the day, I've always had this practice that, like, if someone is capable of doing the exact same job I'm capable of doing, there's no reason why they should be held back. Like, the only thing they should be held back on is merit. And you know what I mean by when I say that, right? Are they doing the job the way they're supposed to? Does it look like they meet the qualifications, all that stuff? That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about anything else, based off of like looks or sex or whatever. Ugh. This is the tech industry. We're supposed to be better, right?
Supposedly.
All right. Key point number 2. Underqualified male employees got promoted first, and some were even paid more than women who did more work than that particular individual. Damn.
That rolls right up to key point 1, like kind of goes together, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Same ballpark.
Yeah. The reason why are key points, though, is because these are actual bullet points from the actual lawsuit. That's the only reason why I made them stand out key points. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of them do seem pretty similar, and I only picked the 3 that I thought were like the best ones to actually talk about. But key point number 3 is crazy. Pregnant employees and African American female employees were treated completely differently.
Yeah, good luck answering that one, Activision. Oh man.
Yeah.
That's
I feel like nowadays, like how when you hear like bosses or upper management say like, we have an open door policy, come talk to us about anything. I feel like I feel like whenever I hear that in the future, it's just gonna be cringe for me. I really do, because it says a lot about you and your company if you can't value an employee at a base level.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, what's going on with them? Of course, if they're pregnant, like pregnancy. I forgot what they say. It's pregnancy is a condition, not an illness. That's what I used to hear a lot in the corporate world, and for the most part, it is true. It's a condition, But 9 times out, I've seen pregnant women do stuff that like just are the average male, wouldn't do, and things like that and stuff like that. But for the simple fact, and we're not even going to talk about how African American female employees are treated. I mean.
Yeah, that's. I'll tell you one thing about the pregnancy bullet portion was, I was pregnant. Well, I worked right up until like my last day that I was expected to give birth, and I was freaking. And I probably shouldn't be doing it. I was like running up and down the halls. I mean, I probably couldn't like lift 80 pounds, but I was still doing everything a non-pregnant person could do. Maybe I couldn't squeeze through things like I could, but I just think it's asinine, all this.
It's ridiculous. Let's put it that way. And
the whole thing is sad.
Yeah. That's really one way to come at it. Let me add this, and then we can actually like do some talking about this. All right. At Activision Blizzard, the company's former chief technology officer, who also said to be making the hiring decisions based on applicants. Let me rephrase this because I'm about to read it completely wrong. The chief technology officer was also pointed out to making hiring decisions based on applicants' looks and have been seen groping female employees at parties. 3 days after the lawsuit was filed, Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick released his own statement to employees in an email dated July 27th. He apologized for the company's early responses, calling them tone deaf, and promised to immediately implement remedial measures such as employee support, listening sessions, changes in personnel, fair hiring practices, and change in in-game content. Remember when I just said just now, like how like whenever I hear an employee say, "Oh, we have an open door policy," this is what I'm talking about. Because this is what it sounds like. It sounds like stuff to placate people, and not so much like really get down to like the heart of the matter. Mike Morhaime, a Blizzard co-founder and former company president, released a statement on July 24th in the wake of the allegations. He left the company in 2019 after spending almost 3 decades at Blizzard. He said that he found the allegations to be difficult and disturbing and was also ashamed about everything that had happened. In his statement, he apologized and said, "I realize that these are just words, but I want to acknowledge the women who had awful experiences. I hear you, I believe you, and I am sorry to have let you down." That's tone deaf. That's after the fact. What was he doing in 30 years when people were making these complaints? What was going on then?
Yeah, it's a total cop-out PR statement.
Too late.
Yeah, exactly.
It's too late. Not damages done.
Yep. Of course, we've heard about the walkout of Activision Blizzard employees that happened on 28th. We also heard that over 500 Ubisoft employees also threw in, with the employees of Activision Blizzard for that, lending their support behind it. As a sign of more sweeping changes within Activision Blizzard, the company has announced the resignation of its president, J. Allen Brack, on August the 3rd. Also notable, Jesse Meshock has also left the company. Brack will be replaced by Jen O'Neill, a female executive VP of development, as well as Mike Ibarra, a former Xbox executive who had joined the company in 2019. I think they'll be taking on a joint position, so I guess they're co-presidents of the company. It doesn't really spell out like what they're doing as of yet, but as things are going, overall things are still developing as the lawsuit that was brought by the state of California goes on. It has recently come to light. Stephanie, I mentioned this earlier. It has recently come to light that Ben Kilgore, the former chief technology officer at the company, had been reportedly having an affair with his assistant. The reason why we know this is because there was recall conversations that Derek Ingalls, the person who replaced Kilgore, said about Kilgore's departure, concluding with a strange piece of advice, and this is a direct quote. Ingalls said, "Don't sleep with your assistant, but if you're going to sleep with your assistant, do not stop." All right. One last thing though. If that wasn't enough already on Activision Blizzard's plate, Francis Townsend, a former United States Homeland Security advisor who somehow made it into the video games industry as executive vice president for corporate affairs at Activision Blizzard. That's a mouthful, I know. She has stepped down from her position on the company's women's network after coming under intense scrutiny. Basically, she was one of the people that were naysaying when all the complaints were coming in.
Yeah.
It got so bad to the point where she had to basically shut down her whole Twitter account because she was getting into some vicious Twitter fights with people as this stuff was happening. The tech industry isn't the only one affected by this type of bro culture. We see it all the time in manufacturing, finance, consulting, and energy industries. Jesus Christ, I'm just never going to stop being tongue-tied. These are all places known for their bro culture, but tech seems to be where all the news is coming from these days. In a Me Too world, it's more than embarrassing. Here it is. The denigration of women and people from other cultures has never been a good look. Never. As long as these practices keep happening, we will see more and more of this stuff being brought to light. And guess what? I love seeing these people's feet, being hung over the fire. I do. So keep it coming. At Crossroads here, we support you. Keep up the good fight. Get these people out of these positions because they're just the worst.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have a lot of questions on this topic tonight, but I will say this: keeping with tonight's topic, check out the August 2nd edition of the Boss Rush Banter. There, Lamar Reed asked the question, and I'm curious about what our panel thinks as well on this. Should the gaming community start boycotting companies that engage in bad behavior? Actually, let me say my piece real quickly, and then you guys have the floor. When it comes to situations like this, I get the immediate knee jerk reaction of saying, "Hey, we're no longer buying any of your guys' shit because you guys are shitty people," and stuff like that. But you have to remember one thing: these companies employ lots of people, like talented people, people who, I'm not saying most of them live paycheck to paycheck, but them being able to come to the job, means that they can keep the lights on, feed their kids and stuff like that. So I say the idea of the knee jerk reaction to boycott, a company because of what it's doing, honestly hurts everybody that's not even involved with the stuff. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
absolutely.
actually gonna say that. I was
Yeah,
gonna say that.
yeah.
I mean, I don't
Go
know.
ahead.
I've always been like an advocate for separating the art from the artist, but in this kind of situation, I'm actually having a really difficult time with the Activision Blizzard one. Not that I really play Activision or Blizzard games anyway right now, so it's an easy decision for me to just not play them. Even though Diablo is a little tempting. Um, it's just like, yes, there's so many people that have worked on these games and developed them, but their their product is already out there, right? It's already been done. And from what goes on from here on out, after knowing what has happened, I'm okay with just cutting the cord on them. Because if you look back on all the things that have come up, and I mean, there was even this conference where there was a panel of Blizzard employees, and this, female fan came up and she asked, why do all the women in this game look like they walked out of a Victoria's Secret catalog? Can we get one that looks actually normal? And the entire panel just laughed
It
at
just
her.
started laughing. Yeah.
They just like, and it, mind you, this is like 2010, and this girl is coming up in front of a room full of men, like to talk to a panel full of men about a pretty vulnerable question. So it already took a lot of bravery for her to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just got shut down, and they said, well, what catalog would you like her to walk out of? You know what I mean? Like just being condescending and snippy. And like, if you kind of think a little bit deeper into this, like you look at these characters in these games, and there's like, a raccoon with boobs. Like, it's just like, so there had to have been a table discussing things like this. And that that doesn't stray very far from being just a toxic work culture and bringing it down through the whole entire thing. So in my mind, like, it starts at the top, it starts at these ideas, and it just goes to show that there's really not as much female representation or voice in this company as there can be. And given all the allegations, plus what you can see looking back on it, there's no reason for me to even think about letting this company continue to get my money. That's
Fair.
where I stand with it.
That's very fair. That's very fair.
I feel that if people want to boycott games, I say go for it. I just have a skeptical side where, I see games like Warcraft, Call of Duty, that there's still going to be such a huge portion of people that are going to buy these games. I'm not even quite sure how far reaching the news reaches to casual gamers, like the game, people that maybe don't check video game news as frequently. I just feel like those are just huge titles. I feel like they're still going to make their money. So I'm all for, if you want to boycott the game, but I honestly don't think it's going to make a dent unless we have like people in the millions that will not be buying it. And so I feel that what really needs to bring change is the fact that the state of California is suing Activision Blizzard. Like, there was a walkout, like actual things happening, that all of that social media shaming, which I normally don't condone otherwise. We need to shine that spotlight even brighter on them. And I'm hoping that Activision Blizzard is that straw that broke the camel's back. Is that the old saying? Because it's super disappointing to see that Ubisoft so far hasn't really, this thing with Ubisoft hasn't gone anywhere yet.
Yeah.
Riot Games, like, that was just a stupid apology letter. Like, I'm just
Ubisoft
hoping,
was swept under the rug for so long.
Yeah.
and that's,
For real.
yep, that's what's most infuriating for me, is that I keep seeing all these stupid apology letters. I'm so sick of these fucking apology letters that I'm hoping this is the tipping point, which I got a little off topic to the question, but
That's
But
okay.
No, that was a good
but
point.
No,
but to
that
your
was a
point,
wonderful point.
though, but to your point though, so like the social media like shaming and like bringing the light towards it, how does this affect other companies, and how do companies stray away from bro culture? Because this is like this is clearly, and a lot of people have come out and said this, that this isn't just Activision Blizzard.
Oh yeah.
This
Oh
is
yeah.
this is just a normal thing in the tech company. And I mean, what I'm going to say is obvious, but it's like any heavily like male dominant industry, this bro culture is just a thing. I mean, I know a lot of people in banking, and I know a lot of people in not a lot. I know a couple of people that work in like Hollywood and music and stuff, and it's the same exact thing. I mean, the Me Too movement happened because of like just this culture and movies and people wanting this to stay away. So it's like, what needs to be done to change?
yeah, and
You-
you know what, Dan? Oh, I'm sorry, real quick, just real
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pharmacy, I think nowadays is more a female-dominated workspace, but I'll even say there, I witnessed firsthand, and I'll obviously keep everything anonymous, where a male superior was joking about a female's breast, and she just laughed and went along with it, like, yeah, I know you like those tits or whatever, and look at that, she got a manager's position. So it's kind of like, it's insidious, but it's there.
Ooh. You know what? I hadn't even thought about that when I was actually like getting this together for tonight. Sometimes it's encouraged because some people know it's a stepping stone to get to the next level, and
Mm-hmm.
and you know what? I'm never gonna knock anyone's hustle. Like if you find a way to get promoted and get to a certain place in the company where you want to be and stuff like that, I'm not gonna stop you. As long as it's not hurting other people. And in that particular instance, Stephanie, that's not hurting anybody. like obviously like that. That pharmacist, she knew what she was doing, and she figured out a way to get to where she was going. But to answer to kind of like piggyback on some of the stuff that you guys said a few moments ago, though, I think one of the major things that's going to actually prompt the change is that when these class action lawsuits start working,
Yes.
when companies have to forfeit, like one third, 2/3 of their sales profit for however many fiscal years because they have to pay out, like penalties and all this stuff. I think that's when this stuff is actually going to take effect. And like we're gonna have I was gonna say chairman of the board and stuff like that, but you know what I mean, like personnel in the board of directors and stuff like that. We're gonna turn around and say, hey, look, we can't afford to lose money anymore because y'all are being asshats. And I don't care whether it's a man committing stupid behavior or if it's a woman committing stupid behavior. Ultimately, like, money talks. And so when the people who turn around and sign your paycheck say, hey, stop fucking up, that's when we're going to see some changes and stuff like that. And not only going to say stop fucking up, they're going to say, if we hear of 1 ounce of it, you're done. You're done, and you might be facing a lawsuit. Because the one thing a lot of people are afraid of, they're not really afraid of being fired from their job. They're being afraid of taking the court from their job after they leave it and stuff like that. That's stuff that needs to be put into place for some of these things to change.
Yeah, it's like more action and less like writing an apology letter. Like actually do something about it rather than being like, oh, hey, I'm sorry this is happening to you. Talk to such and such, and it's like, what good is that gonna do?
All these apology letters is basically just PR moves. They're PR moves to see if they can get the public to like forget about this shit. Which is why I'm so glad, like, we have the walkouts. We have the people who are still doing, blowing the whistles and things like that. Keep that stuff in our face, because just like in politics right now, like the moment people stop talking about it is the moment everybody immediately forgets about it, and the shit will still keep happening and things like that.
Yeah, and people are still talking about it. Have you guys heard that former Nintendo of America president Reggie speak about Activision Blizzard?
I've heard about it, but I haven't seen a statement yet.
What was the statement?
Is there an official statement out that we can read?
I have not found the official statement yet. I was trying to do like crazy research before the show. All I was able to find was just a YouTube explaining what he said, so I don't have it yet.
Uh-huh.
But I just know that, you know, it's important. I'm glad the conversation is happening and being asked of other either current or former titans in the industry. Reggie, I believe, to paraphrase, stated that, you know, it's all about making the policy crystal clear, having a no tolerance policy. I think the way he explained it was a first observance, you know, to, you know, give them like a verbal warning, and on second occurrence, they're terminated.
Yeah.
But he also said the part that hit most to me is that it starts with leadership. You know, leadership is ultimately responsible for cascading all of this down.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping we can find more from what he spoke to on that.
Yeah, if we're able to find it, we will definitely share it with our audience on our Twitter page, and we'll make sure the word gets out there. And if it comes up soon, we may even revisit it on a future episode of Crossroads. Anybody else have any final words on this?
No, I mean, I think the industry is always going to be male dominated, and that's what, you know, that's kind of the worry behind it, right?
Oh,
like,
you know what?
Go ahead.
You know, since you're saying it's gonna be male dominated, okay, does this kind of seem like it's all going back to a conversation about how we need to teach our young men how to be?
Most likely.
I know it feels like kind of the worst thing to say because, you know, actually, I used to say this a lot when I was in the military, and I still believe it's true. All right, when it comes to common sense, when you're raising a child, I want to say up to the age of 16 or 17, it is your job as a parent to teach your child common sense. Once they become basically, you know what, whenever they become the age that any state allows you to buy cigarettes on your own, that's when they are responsible for common sense from that point on. So, some of this I will say that, you know, like a lot of this definitely goes to upbringing, you know. Now I get it because we just cashiered the president of the United States out of office, and apparently to a lot of testimonials from like close relatives and stuff, that type of behavior was actually taught, you know, in the environment, and look where it got us, you know, like. But I'm not trying to be all political. But what I am trying to say though is, I do believe that for the most part, like parents need to be better, and you know, like I get it. You know, like there's a lot of parents now. Like both parents are working, and they're working backbreaking hours. Some parents are doing 14-hour shifts and barely seeing their kids and stuff like that. I understand. But at the same time, you know, like when you have the quality time, especially with young men, because young men are so impressionable. Young boys and young men are so impressionable and stuff. They see one thing that a male figure in their life is doing, and they immediately want to copy it and stuff like that. It's incredible. So, you know, like if you have a son, and let's say your son is like in his 20s and 30s, and he's always getting fired from jobs for misconduct and stuff like that, you might want to self-reflect real quickly if there may have been something you could have done to guide them along the way.
Yeah, I mean,
possibly.
we grew. So you think about people in these positions that this, you know, are going through this. Like, we did grow up in a different era, right? Like, we weren't as sensitive about, you know. I mean, gay marriage wasn't like fully allowed across America until about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, how crazy is that? You know what I mean? And it's like, these people probably have just these old school locker room mentalities and like the toxic male culture, right?
Or even worse, there's a part of society where some men still look at women and children as their property.
Yeah, or just like, yeah, like they have to stay at home and just cook and clean and raise kids. And you know, and that's more common than I'd like to think, you know. Just knowing as many people as I do, I don't see it that often, but it's out there. And once you get these kind of people into a position of power at some of these like tech companies or any male dominated companies, that's where it just starts to get sour. So I don't know, better screening of people, like it just building a different culture. I don't know what it is, but the fact that these are always going to be male dominated industries, something has to change about it, because just getting sued isn't enough right now.
Mm.
All right. Anybody else have their input?
I have a couple things.
Go for it.
Some might be not as popular.
Oh
But
no
whatever.
This is Crossroads. We love unpopular opinions here. Come
And
let us have
coming
it.
fast and furious. It's funny. Like I don't mind of a. I'm being very bare bones here. Like if statistically there just happen to be more males in a workplace than females, but it's more of how females are treated. Females are given equal opportunity for promotion to be hired. It won't really bother me as much. I know the correlation is not really there. Usually if it is a male dominated environment, there is the culture that's there, but I want to be able to make sure that's separate, right? Like I don't want to come off as like anti-male, or anything like that. Us women or minorities even, we're not asking to be treated extra special. We're just asking to be treated the same. And I have a son. He's only 5.5, but I'm not going to raise him with the saying boys will be boys. I'm like, no, there's no excuse just because you have something between your legs. No, you're going to be held accountable for your behavior, whether as a male, female, non-binary, whatever. Everybody's treated with respect. And I'm hoping that, first of all, we all have to be the best role models that we can be. I think
True.
some of us get frustrated because, what can one person do? Like I get frustrated that I can't really, do something about Activision Blizzard. But if all of us take small steps, we can make one giant leap or whatever. And then the last thing I want to touch on, I just don't want to forget what makes us so passionate about this is I remember being heartbroken about that woman that committed suicide in the story.
That was so hard to read.
Yes, it is severe. This is not playtime, and I want to keep that part fresh. I hate to say it, but like we need to honor her life and like all the other lives that, these aren't just a bunch of harmless jokes. There are serious consequences, and I hope to see that come through with the lawsuit.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention it. But it's not because I omitted it or anything like that. Like, it was just one of those. It was just one of those topics out of the sea of topics that we were going through tonight. Like, it was one of those ones that I was like, it will definitely like suck up a lot of space. So that was the reason why I did. But no. But overall, you know what? I'm gonna give the last word to Zumi 2009 out in the chat tonight. Zumi said, "Changing any toxic culture starts with the individual. Not being okay with that's how it's always been, and holding others accountable for their actions or words. That is the way to change all this stuff. You know what?" And Stephanie, I knew exactly what you meant when you're saying you weren't trying to be anti-male. I think you were definitely trying to be anti-douchebag. And guess what? At Crossroads, we are always talking about punching douchebags in the face. So,
yeah.